You're probably here because someone told you that saltwater pools don't use chlorine. Maybe it was a pool installer, maybe it was your neighbor with a fancy backyard setup, or maybe you saw it online. Those Pinterest posts or TikToks that swear by natural water. But here's the truth. Saltwater pools, they absolutely use chlorine. In fact, they might be even more dependent on chlorine than you think. Let's start with what the average person thinks when they hear saltwater pool. They picture a gentle, silky feel, less eye irritation, no chemical smell, and here it is, no chlorine. They imagine it like a spa, with no harsh chemicals, maybe even something natural. I've even heard people say my pool doesn't need chlorine, it's saltwater. And if that sounds like something you heard or even believe, you're not alone. This myth is everywhere. But now let's dig into what's really going on. So what is a saltwater pool exactly? Contrary to what most people think, it's not chlorine free. In fact, it's basically a chlorine delivery system. Here's how it works. You pour salt into the pool, usually around 3,000 parts per million. That's about 1/10 the salinity of ocean water. Enough to taste a hint of salt, but not enough to sting your eyes. Then, and this is the key, the salt water runs through a device called a salt chlorine generator, also known as a salt cell, and through a process called electrolysis, that generator spills the salt into, wait for it, chlorine. Yes, chlorine. The same chlorine that comes in liquid form or in tablets, just made on site, automatically by your salt system. So if anyone tells you saltwater pools don't use chlorine, they're technically wrong. The chlorine is still there, you're just not pouring it in manually. Your pool is literally making chlorine behind the scenes. Now, let's be fair, I get why this myth is so common. First of all, saltwater pools feel different. Less eye burn, less skin irritation, and no strong chlorine smell. That's real. And most people don't see any chlorine containers lying around, so it feels chemical free. But the biggest reason for the confusion is marketing. Saltwater sounds peaceful, it sounds natural, and no pool company is going to slap automated chlorine system on a brochure. Saltwater just sounds better, but it's still chlorine, just produced inside the plumbing instead of poured into it. Let me be super clear here. Saltwater pools still sanitize with chlorine. You just get it from salt, not from the store shelf. Now look, this doesn't mean saltwater pools are bad. Far from it. They actually have a lot of benefits. Softer water feel, no need to handle or store chlorine, more consistent chlorine levels, fewer chemical fluctuations, lower long-term chemical costs, but it's not all smooth sailing from there. Saltwater systems also have a lot of downsides. Salt cells wear out, typically every 3 to 5 years. They're not cheap to replace. Salt can be corrosive to metal parts, pool decks, and some finishes. Salt pools still need regular testing and balancing, especially pH. You can still get algae and cloudy water if you don't maintain it right. So no, it's not set it and forget it. You're still managing chlorine levels, just in a slightly different way. And the biggest myth of all is that a saltwater pool is a hands-off, chemical-free miracle. That's just not reality. Here's a pro tip that a lot of people don't know. If your salt cell dies, and it will eventually, your chlorine production stops. No salt cell, no electrolysis, no chlorine. And when that happens, guess what you have to do? You go right back to adding chlorine manually, just like a traditional pool. So here's the hidden gem tip. Always keep some backup liquid chlorine or tabs on hand, even if you run a salt system. Trust me, you'll thank yourself later. So let's recap. Saltwater pools are not chlorine free. They just generate chlorine from salt, automatically. You still have to monitor, balance, and manage water chemistry. So next time someone says, oh, my pool doesn't use chlorine, it's salt water, you may gently or not so gently correct them. Want more myth-busting pool tips like this one? Smash that subscribe button so you don't miss the next video, and drop a comment with the myth you want me to break down next. Stay smart, stay swimming, and I'll see you in the next video.